Welcome back, everyone. This is part 2 of my first contact spacesuit build, and in this video we're going to tackle the boots, the chest armor, and the helmet itself, including all the lights and how I'm going to do that. First, I'm going to start with the boot covers. What I'm doing in this video, I'm going to be taking these regular slip-on shoes and just building up a pattern and making kind of a boot cover, so you can just slide your foot in. It's purely cosmetic. And here's my version I did from the previous spacesuit. As you can see, it came out all right. Ironically enough, these are the exact same slip-on shoes that were available on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below if you want to get these same ones. I just like the way you slide on, and I like the design on the bottom here. So it kind of looks like a space shoe, I guess. A little bit of adjustments from this one to the new one. I just want this a little bit taller. 2.5 inches. So, and then this piece is supposed to come up to the bottom seam there. I'm going to change that as well. I have my fabric. I have my rope, which is just a little bit bigger than the paracord for the piping. Some aluminum foil, masking tape, and then your slip-on shoes, and a pen or a marker, whatever one you want. And the basic overview is I'm going to use the foil to wrap the shoe so that the tape doesn't stick to the shoe, and then put the tape on top, mark off where I want my pattern, hot glue it around the edge here. This has been hot glued on 6 years, many conventions, traveled a bunch of times. It's held up quite well. And then I'm going to close it up with some Velcro. It's not here, but I have it, so let's Velcro it on. So yeah, let's get started. All right, so I have all my materials here ready to go. The first step in the process, I'm going to be covering the boot in just a layer of tin foil. It'll prevent the masking tape from sticking to the actual shoe itself. It'll be easier to pull off and cut out. One thing I forgot, I'm going to stuff this with something to keep its structure. I'm going to do that. So I stuffed the shoe with a few socks just to keep it shape. You do an indent on your where you want the boot cover to be adhered, so that when you're putting down the masking tape, you can just go right to that line. You're going to want to add a seam allowance when you do it and fold it over so it has a nice clean edge. But when you're making the pattern, you're going to want to know where that line is. So I have the boot mostly covered here. Since we have a cover that we want to go up a bit higher, I need something to stabilize it. But I'm just going to use this poster board. I'm going to use this to kind of build up a false leg, if you will, and then tape around that, and then we'll draw the pattern onto that. The boot is going to be taller. There's no need for me to keep building it up. I'm just going to add plus 2.5 to here. This top additional piece is another 2.5 inches. That's going to be made separately and just attached to it. Alright, so I'm very pleased with the state of this right now. We are in a good spot. Alright, so yeah, like I said before, I'm just going to write on here to remind myself, plus 2.5. Here I am just eyeballing the seam lines for the boot itself, using the old one as kind of a guideline, and tracing those lines down. So I have it all marked out on this space boot here. I know that shoes are not bilaterally symmetrical, but in this case, the way it goes over the shoe, I'm going to treat it as such. So I only did the one side, labeled it left, and then when I do the other pattern, I'll just flip it over, transfer them to this poster board material here. Separate pattern for this guy here. I did it on the boot last time. I drew it on there, but I clearly didn't get the scale right, so I'm going to wait till everything's all done and then add that on there. So far, so good. Let's cut this out. So I did find my original pattern pieces for the original boot. I probably could still use them because it's the same design. However, I wanted to show the process. I just want to see how close I got in how I did it the first time to now. Let's not see the other side, but pretty close. Maybe 1 inch there. I'm gonna do 1.5 inches on that one. I changed it from 2.5 to 3 because I didn't account for the seam allowance. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to transfer these to this type of paper, and then add all the seam allowances in. Here I'm transferring the pattern pieces I just cut out from the boot, adding in the 1/2 inch seam allowance. There's only 3 main pieces of this pattern, but then it's going to be doubled up when you flip it over. Next step in the process, we're going to attach it to the fabric and cut out all the pieces we need, as well as I'm going to be backing it with some felt interfacing, which is going to iron on to the back of the fabric to give it more stability to it. Just making some additional piping cording for the boot, just some rope and strips of the fabric that I'll be using. Alright, so I'm checking in. I got all the piping done for the boots here. The next up is I gotta make a pattern for this detail piece. I didn't like this one, it's still too small. Based on what the screen used ones look like, I went with that. So I'm gonna transfer it over to this, add some seam allowance. I'm gonna find a red fabric. I'm sure I have plenty leftovers, and find some batting to put behind it. We'll construct the boot. Shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Here I am sewing the red detail on the outer edge of the boot. I used a few layers of batting or kind of interfacing type of material to give it that raised detail as I sewed the lines across it, and then adding all the piping detail around the edge. And this detail piece is going to go on the side of the boot. It's easier to sew it on before you put the boot together. So that's what I'm doing here. This boot pattern I made is pretty simple, so it comes together pretty quickly. Alright, I'm checking back in with you guys. The boots are now fully completed. They came out great. Next up is the armor pieces. So we have the chest armor, the helmet, the red armor pieces that go underneath the chest, and then the control switches that are on the arm and the leg. So I have 3 different versions of foam I'm going to be working with. I bought these HD foam, and then you have this What the foam. This is a higher density foam, and it'll be good for things that you don't want to flex too much. And then this one is your run-of-the-mill floor mat foam for big swaths of foam. The finish on that, you have to sometimes work with some air bubbles and whatnot. But those are the 3 versions I'll be working with. And I have all my pattern pieces that I saved from the 6 years ago project. Front chest plate here. I'm going to be extending it down a little bit and then kind of tapering it in with a little notch on the bottom, which I did not add that. So other than that, so without further ado, I'm going to get started. Hopefully I'll check in with you guys throughout the process. new chest piece. Then I just added this new detail that I missed the first time around. And let's get started cutting on those pieces. Alright, so I'm checking back in. We have all the pieces for the chest and back all cut out. These three here are going to be covered in fabric. These are going to be painted white. I'm going to have to add and cut a separate piece for the collar. Next up, I'm going to be using the rotary tool and cleaning up all the edges on these pieces here, and then I'll heat form them. I'm going to probably move out of this confined space because there'll be a lot of particles and I'll be gluing stuff, but we're making great progress, and yeah, I'll check back in when we get some more progress. Alright, we're making some great progress here. We have both front and back pieces all in its basic form at this point. And then these are the under pieces, the red fabric covered ones. They're going to be going underneath here. So basically this is the front part, and this is the red's going to be underneath, and this is for the back here, as you can see. I'm going to use Velcro to attach those, and then from there we're just going to start finishing these things off, making sure we have all the lights and everything, and all the connections are good, and the lengths are good. And then once we're done with that, move on to the helmet and just keep moving and on to the next step. All right, I'm checking back in with you guys. I have the front chest piece. The main form is all constructed. I added the collar, and I did find all my pieces for the detailing that's going to go overlay on top of this. I'm going to have to do some minor tweaks to it because I did extend this bottom part down a little bit and added this notch here. In addition, I'm going to switch over to a 2mm foam for those details. I only used the 1mm craft foam on the first version. This one is a more sturdier what the foam, so it's a lot denser. And I'll be able to round off the edges on that with the 1mm craft foam. It was too thin and flimsy for you to do that, so I'm going to do that with this. Bring the camera over here. This piece is going to go here. So that's the first layer. I'm going to add a little bit of distance down to the edge here of this piece. I'm not going to put it in that exact spot. I'll probably move it downward here. All right, so I totally forgot to hit record on my time lapse, but all I did was cut out these. I modified the pattern pieces from the previous iteration, and I used the 2mm what the foam, all ready to go. I just got to finish off the edges, and then I'm going to glue it on here. I marked out where everything's going to get laid out. Just a quick side-by-side of the original one that's lasted 6 years or so. All right, I'll get started on that, and then we'll glue it on. Be sure when using contact cement or any kind of glue like this, you have a respirator on. Those fumes are pretty toxic, and you don't want to be breathing that stuff in. All right, so I'm checking back in with you guys. I've finished the main construction of the chest and back armor pieces. The next thing I was tackling is the helmet portion. I did make a pattern of this about 6 years ago, like I said a bunch of times, but I couldn't really make heads or tails of what I did or if things were missing or not. So if you see any of these orange pieces here, these are the original pattern pieces I did, and anything that's poster board is all new. I basically went from scratch on all those pieces, and then I filled in all the gaps. So this is the cardboard test. That's essentially how it's going to look. I think it's pretty good. Next up is deconstruct these pieces, transfer them to foam, and then make a foam version of this. I'm going to leave these top holes opened, and also the back. There's no need for them to be sealed up. It's not a real space helmet. Plus it gives a lot of ventilation, as I noticed on the previous iteration that I made of these. As you see in the time-lapse videos before this, I worked on the back, the chest, and the helmet piece. I didn't film much of this, but I'm just going to go over. I took a piece of 040 PETG plastic, made a cardboard template, and kind of formed it and shaped it. As it is now, it fits pretty well. It'll look a lot better when I remove all the protective film and with the paint and then the edging detail. Should hide a lot of patterns, if you will. But this chest piece is ready to go. I'm very pleased with it. We have the back plate, which is just kind of my interpretation of it. I don't think it looks like this exactly, but it's in the back, detail in the back there. And then the helmet, which I did change the pattern a bit, as the original one I had, I either didn't like how it looked or I couldn't figure out what I did with it. So basically anything from this bottom half is brand new, drafted a new pattern, took a little while. And then the top part is essentially the same pattern, just slightly modified. I did use a different type of foam for the top part. On this helmet, I used What the Foam for the top pieces. I used Floor Mat Foam for the main bottom section. And any other detailing piece, I would probably use the high density foam. Here I am laying down the striping and the helmet, more or less just eyeballing it and going with the design I saw on the screen, use one. Just checking in, I got all these hanging up out here. Got the clear coat going on. This is what I used. It's flexible, so less likely to crack on top of the paint. Did 2 coats gloss white and then two coats of this varnish. Finish came out pretty good. Obviously I'm outside in the sun with the helmet. Probably going to paint the inside of the helmet with flat black acrylic with a brush just to try to clean that up inside. And here's the back piece. Alright, so after this I'm going to let this dry for 24 hours or so. Doing great. Alright, so I've let the paint dry for a couple days. I'm going to be working on the helmet first, as I want to ship this out with my older costume to my friend who's going to bring it to Vegas. First step I'm going to do is put the face shield that I built out of the PETG, the 040. I'm going to heat formed it in certain spots, and what I'm going to do is mechanically anchor it with this drill gun here. I have some self-tapping screws, like shorter ones. I'm going to screw them right into the foam. Obviously, foam is not the best for, you know, metal screws, so I'm going to coat it in some this crazy glue here, so it locks it in. I did that with the other helmet, and it's been 6 years, and that hasn't gone anywhere. And then once those two screws are all locked in, I'm going to use whatever glue, maybe this hot glue here, just to go around the edge, just to keep the gaps from flaring out. And this bottom is going to look a little janky, but we're going to be putting weather stripping around, should hide that crime. Most of the crimes are on the edge here, so hopefully it'll look nice and clean. Pleased at how the finish came out. I'm not sure how durable it'll be, but the other one lasted 6 years, and it was pretty good. Use this acrylic here, and I did you can't see it here through the protective cover here. I hand painted some of the acrylic here in the black, make it a little more uniform and kind of detract away from the white on the outside. Yeah, so I'll get started with that. All right, so we got our helmet here ready to go for all the detailing that we're going to be putting in it. So before we get started, I'll just, if you want a screenshot, this is the rubber gasket that I used. So I bought it on Amazon. I believe it's also available at Lowe's or a local hardware store, I believe. So that's the sizing I'm using. For the pinstriping, I'm just going to cut strips out of this this 3M Oracal stuff. I think it's for, I'm just going to be cutting thin strips of it. So the stuff's pretty good. The adhesive on here is pretty good. I've just been going in and adding any corners that didn't really mesh to the helmet, and a little bit of hot glue just to round it out and also give it a little more adhesion. This rubber gasket kind of brings the whole thing together. Don't think I used the same weather stripping on the other helmet. I know the one on the front of the mask was a little bit thicker. Might have just been what I found at the time. Pretty good. I did put it on my head a few times. I'm just going to add these lights here. I'm going to go in like this, find a spot for them. Here I am sewing up the nylon straps that go on the buckles that are going to attach the shoulders together and the side red pieces together as well. Here I am super gluing the nylon straps onto the chest armor itself. I removed the layer of the paint so that it adheres straight to the foam. It's a really strong hold between the nylon strap and the foam, so it's not going to go anywhere. And then they connect together. Once you have everything glued down, I use some hot glue to go around the edges so it doesn't kind of pull up on the edge. Here I am. I'm going to use some Super 77 to adhere the fabric to the outer edge of the foam pieces. Spread a layer on each. Wait about 30 seconds to a minute and it works similar to contact cement. The downside is if you flip any of the fabric over, it will stick to itself and you'll have a hard time getting it off, which I did, so I lost a bit of fabric. But just be patient and take your time and it should come out pretty good. All right, so checking back in, I have the red pieces all constructed, if you will, layered on some fabric. I used the Super 77 3M. So what I'm gonna do next is that these had a little bit of a recess indents in them, design kind of feature. I could do it with foam and then, put the fabric over it and then have it look recessed. Or what I've seen before done is little windows and then dust them with some black spray paint just to give that shadow effect so that it looks like it's got a little bit of a texture to it. I'm gonna go 1.5 inches between here. So I'm gonna get started with that. Okay, so I dusted all the red pieces here. All right, I'm just checking in with you guys. I know I've been bouncing around different rooms and whatnot, working on this jumpsuit, spacesuit, I should say. What I'm gonna do, which I forgot to do on the completed jumpsuit portion, is add these elastic stirrups to the bottom of the pants here. And the reason that is important on this specifically is these are gonna go inside the boots. So these are gonna, and this prevents the pant from pulling out of the boot. So basically it keeps it nice and tucked in there. It won't slowly work its way out while you're walking. Here I am wiring up the chest lights. All I'm doing here is connecting 4 LED lights to 1 battery, soldering them together, and I'm gonna space them out on the chest armor itself. I'm using a very small Phillips screwdriver with a butane torch to heat it up and kind of poke the holes to where I want the lights to be popping out of. Alright, I think that will do it. Got a hole in here. One all the way through all the possible pieces. Right there. Okay, we finally hit the home stretch here. We are on the control panel section of the build. There's 2 of them. There's one panel on the arm and one that goes on the thigh. They do appear on the same side of the body, but the panels themselves are slightly different. The one that's on the leg is slightly curved and is a little shorter, and the one that's on the arm is a little bit longer and doesn't have as many buttons there. I'm gonna use black foam. This is what the foam. I don't think I used that in the first iteration, but what I'm gonna do is use this what the foam. This one piece should be enough for the 2 boxes, and then I'm gonna paint it with some black Plastidip, and then from there we're gonna add these gel transparencies, and I'm gonna just try to match up the colors. And then I have some Plastizote, which is foam that diffuses the light. Without further ado, I'm going to get started on these 2 panel pieces. Here I am wiring up the panel pieces themselves. They're just a bunch of straight LEDs that are just connected together, laying flat, facing upward. Put together these lighting pieces. They're going to go inside the box. The first iteration, I had a coiled up LED strip that went in there. This is going to be facing upwards towards the diffusion. Have a slight curve to it. Cutting out the boxes themselves. It's very small detail work. It's probably easier to do most of these cuts with a X-Acto knife. Adding the gel panels, trying to match up which colors match the screen used ones, and made strips of those, and then glued them to the inside of the newly formed box. All right, so I've completed the leg piece, the leg control panel. It's about 99% of the way there. All I got to do left is I'm gonna glue on some Velcro in the back and then hand sew it to the jumpsuit so this is detachable. Here I'm hand sewing on the Velcro pieces that are going to attach the boxes themselves to. Makes it easy to take them off and on for transportation. Alright, the spacesuit is 100% done. I had a blast making this thing. I did make it to the deadline of finishing it before Star Trek Las Vegas. I got the old one out to Frank where he wore it alongside of this new one. People seem to enjoy both spacesuits walking around together. I had a ton of fun making this thing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you got any kind of tips or entertainment out of it. If you did, be sure to like below. If you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to ask. This is a 2-part video. If you want to see the first part of the video, be sure to click the video here or in the link description below. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.